Tonight you'll have some reflections in Camina Libre or Libre Camina, I don't remember the title. It means walk free or free walk yourself, about freedom. That's what we basically talk about. So looking is the essence of freedom. Contemplation is the essence of freedom. Free sight and walk makes life worth. But this is about Lysander Spooner. After the reading of No Treason, his great book he writes when he's 59, 60, 61, 62, 63 in different parts. And I'll do complete reading out loud in Spanish with comments, but I like to talk about anarchy. Nowadays, imagine, or better still, 50 years ago, imagine that the government said that there should be an age verification for books and for newspapers and for magazines, so children wouldn't be harmed by the freedom that they might have of reading books, newspapers, magazines. And for that reason as well, of course, everybody had to be registered whenever they read something. Like if you want to buy a book, you need to be registered by the government. You need a license to read the book, and you need a license to buy the newspaper and read it, to verify that you are over the age limit that the government imposes, and that age limit would be 16. Why not 25 or 55? 16. So that would have seemed crazy at all, right? But in that time, governments didn't need to get to those extremes in order to control the press, control the publishing houses pretty much. They could just censor them. They could just manipulate their editorial boards. They could put people into that, and they cannot do it on the internet. They try, but it's not easy. They tried very hard, like on the main public forums like Twitter. Until Musk bought it, it was basically a government-controlled farm of different kind of course, people who agree with government, they see it most proper that government controls everything. But people who are for individual freedom, people who are for freedom, people who are anarchists, which means no arcos, no mandatory, no, but not because you don't like the government, not because you don't like Trump or Biden or whoever, or Newsom or whatever, because you don't like government, not the governors themselves. Not because you don't like what they do with your money, because you don't like them doing anything with your money. But least of all, they can rob you. But least of all, you don't like them doing whatever they want with your thought, with your learning abilities, and with your conversation and your communication. So this thing of age verification is the most horrible mean of control that we have ever seen. I mean, since always, because everybody is working, entering, going into these forums, into these whatever social networks, however they want, you want to call them. Maybe YouTube would be the next thing. How can a minor see a tit? How can they be manipulated by people who are not us? Okay, the thing is that taxes is immoral. Uh, imposing rules that only favor the side that has the power is immoral. Control of others is immoral, even if they allow it. Like slaves mainly allowed it because they had to. They didn't have other choice. People don't comply because they want. They comply because they are forced to comply. All these government crooks, they are robbers and they are highwaymen, as Spooner puts it. They are thieves. They are murderers. They behave like a mafia. It's funny when you are reading Spooner, he doesn't know about the mafia, right? Because the mafia is the perfect image for what governments are basically. They extort innocents who are trying to trade among themselves, and they just rob them of a part. Maybe one day it's an orange, then it grows and it's half of their workday, and it grows more, and it's most of the workday, which is the situation like with self-employed individuals or mostly anyone who works employed also. Government is taken away in all the civilized countries, all the modern states. Most of their monies, most of their work, the surplus that the Marxists talked about, it is used by them as an excuse to go against the company owners or the self-employed in order to rob them that surplus that they fix in, I don't know, 90%, whatever they want to fix. They call it tax the rich, they call it eat the rich, and that's what they do because they are more powerful than the rich. Government of today, it's incomparably greater in force than the one of Lysander Spooner time. Spooner lived in the time of Thoreau, that is the middle second half of the 19th century, and he lived in the land of anarchy. And this is what I wanted to talk about, how the USA in spirit is the society of anarchists. That's what it is. That's the essence. An anarchist might be the Puritan group. It could be the Amish. It could be the religious, the non-religious. It could be the Hell Angels, or it could be even the police, like Clint Eastwood, or it's a country of individuals that came about after 500,000 years of trying. Because it's clear that the story behind everything here is trying to avoid the tyranny of others of men over men. That's obvious, and the USA came about. It was created. It came from the great British tradition, English tradition, and this from other European customs, always with the thought of the Greek polis, of Athens, the classical Athens of Pericles, and the Renaissance, and even the Roman Republic, which is also a high point of freedom, actually, and social organization and the conduct of many of its individuals, but it never was, nor any of them had the ideas so clear as to create something as beautiful as the United States of America. And if you don't like the United States of America, it's because you don't know it. And if you are Americans listening to this and you don't know it, you should be starting, because slavery in the United States basically disappeared with its independence. But it's written in the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal, have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's exactly what was fought, also in favor of the slaves by many people. One of them, very much so, was this Lysander Spooner. He fought it the courts of law. He was a lawyer, so he dedicated a great deal of his life to it. Slavery was abolished in Massachusetts basically in the time of independence itself. It was part of the Western doctrine, and it is the Western doctrine that abolished slavery. It's not unfair because it had slavery. Slavery had been there since always. It was normal to own people, and they were free in a free society, and it happened. There was a resistance, of course, in the slave holding economy of the South, which was but it was a failure, in my opinion, of humankind, and it was corrected by these people who opposed it very firmly and very clearly, and it was won. It was a fight won. Then Spooner doesn't like how it was won. He doesn't like that this government of Abraham Lincoln and the Republicans and the others used the question of slavery just to create a bigger, stronger government. His theory is that, his idea is that the Constitution was never valid, but for the man who approved it, that in his generation, 100 years later, it's not valid at all. Even before, if someone doesn't agree to a contract before a court of law, that contract is not valid, and he expects the same judgment to the same way to judge the Constitution, the American Constitution, the U.S. Constitution with the people. No? With the people, there are no people then who are signing this. Nowadays, of course, the Constitution it means tradition, and this libertarian, or however you want to call it, individualistic essence of the USA. Many people think it's reflected in the Constitution just for two reasons, basically, which is the freedom of speech, that is the First Amendment, and the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. But of course, these are just natural rights. You have the right to say anything you want. It's great that it's protected by the law, and it's great that you can defend yourself. But the rest is the basis for the creation of an authoritarian state. That's his view of it. That's how he puts it. It's unfair, and I think he's absolutely right. Not because he's anti-American, but because he's American. Exactly. If he is a real American, if he is for freedom, if he is for the individual, if he is for religion or different thought, for a personal life, then all this great state, with its huge taxes and everything, it's just madness, it's mafia, and The ones in the rest of the world, which Spooner also judges firmly, are also like that, and they are probably worse. They are thieves, and they are pirates, and they are something to be avoided and to not obey. If you, as much as possible, you need to keep your safety because they can destroy you easily, of course. But if you agree with it because of fear, you gotta be conscious, and we all are, that it's out of fear. Be careful not to confound it, not to mistake it with approval. Because maybe you approve some things, but those are the things that you may do. And if you don't approve them, well, you gotta put the trust in all of it. Spooner, a beautiful lecture, a beautiful time. No treason, and it is no treason to be square with yourself and to be fair and to follow your law without hurting any other or impeding anyone going their way. So long live the USA and make it real everywhere. Please, please, please. Then you had the conditions in the USA. In the USA, you didn't need to follow so many formalities. Everything was to be made, and you had these principles. In Europe, you were fighting for every inch of reason because it was established like the names of every place. And this is important also, and we'll deal with it in another commentary. And I'm doing this in English, so it stays because I don't say it often. And then we'll go with the Spanish video. So if you like it, here we are.